There are times where this Knicks team shows flashes of just being a phenomenal team. The ball is moving right. Players are moving right. They're cutting right. And they look good together. But when you take a step back and you look at the roster and you look at them against other teams, one thing always comes to mind: the lack of shooting and the lack of size. But the Knicks may have the answer, at least to address the size concern, on the roster already. In Jacob Toppin. He has been impressive. He's been making an impact. And in my opinion, the Knicks must add him to help address not only size, but because he can shoot, he can help address shooting concerns as well too. We're going to break down what Toppin has been doing in the G League and why he should be called up to the Knicks main roster and be utilized by Tom Thibodeau. All of this and so much more today. So be sure you're subscribed to the channel and have notifications turned on so you don't miss a second of the new content. And now, let's get started. Jacob Toppin continues to impress. Now, I thought when we traded Obi Toppin to Indiana, we would never be speaking about another Toppin brother again. But, surprise, surprise, I am wrong again, because we have to talk about Jacob Toppin and what he has been doing. If you haven't been following the G League, and I don't blame you for that because a lot of people don't follow the G League. But for me, sometimes when the Knicks are losing or they aren't doing the things I want them to do, I look at the G League to see maybe what are the young guys doing, because sometimes that gives me a little bit of hope for the future. And man, does Jacob Toppin give you some hope. Not only because of his style of play, not only because of his athleticism, but because if you look at his game, just his game, it looks like he could fit perfectly with what the Knicks are running right now. Take a look at what Jacob Toppin has been doing in the G League, because guys, he has been on a rampage. This is what he did a few nights ago. 30 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists against Greensboro on November 25th. 30 points, and he made it look easy. And the thing about it, he's doing it efficiently. And he's also doing it on dunks, on threes, on mid-ranges. Obi could never. And it's not a slight or a knock to Obi Toppin. I've just never seen Obi Toppin settle for a mid-range. He usually leaks out and goes for the dunk or stays in the corner for a three. His brother Jacob seems to be well-versed in all of those type of scoring methods. He can score in the mid-range. He can score at the three, and he can score inside the paint. He's strong, but one of the main things as well too is his defense. He is very, very good on defense. He's more of a wing than he is a power forward, even though he has a lot of size to him. But his body would complement more of a wing. And his defense would actually complement more of a wing. He has the length. He's long. He's competitive. He doesn't give up on plays. He's exactly the type of guy that Tom Thibodeau would implement right now in any type of roster. So I think he could help complement the Knicks right now if he was added. Oh, by the way, this 30-burger that he added wasn't the first time he did that. A few nights before this, he dropped, as you can see here, 37 points, career high, 10 rebounds, 4 made three-pointers. Jacob Toppin has absolutely been phenomenal for Westchester. And I know what you guys are going to tell me. Wasn't Deuce McBride looking like Magic Johnson when he was in the G League? It's true. When you're in the G League, you sometimes look amazing. Your numbers sometimes get inflated. So you have to take everything with a grain of salt. But that's what I'm doing. I'm absolutely taking everything he's doing there with a grain of salt, because I don't care that he's putting up 30 points. It's actually not about the points. It's his style of play that I'm looking at, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to be added to the team. The 30 points, the amount of touches that he gets, he's not going to get that with the Knicks if he's added. I know that. But his style of play, that's what's going to be implemented and utilized if he's added to this team. If he's making the main roster and being utilized game after game after game. And in my opinion, Jacob Toppin needs to be utilized more by Tom Thibodeau because his style of play fits this team very good. According to Steph Bondy of the New York Post, When Tom Thibodeau was asked about Jacob Toppin recently, he said the following: "I like him a lot. I like the way he works. He's done a good job. I think just for him, the challenge will be developing consistency with his shot. But he's a very good all-around player." That's very high praise coming from Tom Thibodeau. Again, from somebody who's on a two-way deal, who's in the G League, and really hasn't played much significant NBA ball as of yet. And he's still getting high praise from Tom Thibodeau. I think that means a lot. And I think that speaks to the fact that potentially Jacob Toppin is somebody to watch, maybe not this season, but potentially for the upcoming seasons, as somebody the Knicks could add to their roster that could potentially see a permanent spot on the roster. Whether that means they get minutes or not is up to Thibodeau. But seeing a permanent rotation spot, maybe, potentially, that could be in his future, especially if he continues to play like this. As you heard recently from an interview with Tom Thibodeau, shout out to Steph Bondi, he likes Jacob Toppin and he likes what he can do, but he needs to see more from his shot. And I agree, his shot doesn't look pretty, it needs to get better, his stroke needs to get better, and he needs to pick his spots better as well too. If he can do that and work on that stroke, make it look a little bit better, I think that Tom Thibodeau would absolutely utilize him in an offense or defense capacity because he can play both roles. He's very good on defense, clearly good on offense, and I think the offensive game will come. Now, G League will make you look like you're $1 million each and every time because the players you play against, it's not the highest level of talent. It's not NBA level talent at times. So you're going to look good. I think if Toppin were going to do the same thing in the NBA, he would not have those same numbers. He wouldn't be just as impactful. But do I think he could grow into a very solid role player, especially for this Knicks team, given his style of play, his defense, and what he could give a Tom Thibodeau coach team? Absolutely. He fits. You can see it. Take away the points and just look at style of play. It fits. He fits. And clearly Tom Thibodeau likes him. We need more size. We need people who can shoot. And we need somebody who can play inside the paint besides Julius Randle and besides our guards. And we need more size at the people who can do that. Jacob Toppin checks all those boxes. And his defense automatically, for me, puts him at the top of the list for a Tom Thibodeau team. He should be on this team permanently. He should be on the main roster. And he should be getting consistent minutes. Because we need a player like him on this team. To be honest, if we still had his brother Obi, I would want Obi to get those minutes. But we don't have him. So we can only talk about who we have and who we can utilize. It's a crime that we have these players on the team and the Knicks are not even giving them a shot when we clearly need more size. Look at the teams against some of these really good teams in the West and the East. Sometimes you'll notice the Knicks look a little bit small. It's not going to hurt them every game because thankfully the Knicks play so good with the size that they have that it's not usually an issue from a night-to-night basis. But when it comes to the playoffs and the games that matter so much more, teams are going to look at those mismatches, they're going to attack it, and they're going to get the advantage. And the Knicks are not going to be able to throw anything at them because they haven't been able to utilize any of the depth they have now. It's concerning to me. Maybe it's not concerning to you guys, but it's concerning to me seeing that the Knicks have some talent on the roster that potentially, they could use to address a concern. And they do not, or at least refuse to do so. That, for me, is what the crime is. Per Steph Bondi, he stated that going undrafted in June, Jacob Toppin signed a two-way contract with the Knicks. And over the last 3 games with the Westchester Knicks, he's averaged a gaudy 26.3 points with 9.7 rebounds on 46.2% shooting, including 38.5% from behind the arc, which is pretty respectable. It's a pleasant surprise for a player who, despite his athletic lineage, was only considered a fringe NBA prospect out of Kentucky. He's making an impact. You cannot take that away. Even though it's for Westchester, he's making an impact. Could you honestly tell me that if he was added to this Knicks team, he couldn't make a similar impact? I'm not talking about the scoring. You couldn't tell me because of his size, what he does defensively, that he couldn't play for Tom Thibodeau. He couldn't help on defense. He couldn't help them get some more rebounds. He couldn't help them with transition. He couldn't help them with some paint play. I think he could do all of that if given the opportunity. Why not give him the opportunity at a position of need? We need help at that position. We need more size. It complements the team. It benefits the team. Oh yeah, it helps the team. And that's why I want Tom Thibodeau to make that decision, bring Toppin up, make him a permanent fixture of this Knicks team, and give him consistent minutes so we can see what he can do. Because I think he could be a very solid player for this team. He's not going to be a star, I don't think that. But is solid role player out of the question? Do we not need more solid role players? If we had more solid role players, would we feel the need to pay these players on our... If we had more solid role players, would we feel the need to trade for other role players and potentially give them even more money? Would it make sense at that point? And that's why it helps the Knicks even more, because they might have players on their roster now that can help fill a need that they don't have to go trade for, allowing them to focus what they want to trade on more selectively, so they only choose and pick what they absolutely desperately need, regardless of anything else, rather than trying to go after role players because it's the best available. And I don't want the Knicks to start making moves like that. And to avoid that, utilize who you have. Utilize Jacob Toppin, who's making an impact in the G League, and I would argue would make an impact on the Knicks right now if he was called up and utilized. But what about you guys? What do you think about what Jacob Toppin is doing in the G League? And do you agree with me? Do you think the Knicks should call him up and utilize him, even for 10 to 15 minutes? Because remember, he's not playing 30 minutes a night. Do you think we could even utilize him for 10 to 15 minutes? Let me know in the comments below, guys, because honestly, I would love to hear from you. But that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, go ahead and smash that like button, leave a comment below, and of course, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knicks fans. Peace.